Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thank you for being patient. We're just waiting a couple of minutes for everyone to register. So obviously this morning is all about Cisco Webex Calling, taking your calls to the cloud with Cisco, aimed specifically at Webex Calling. Our guest speaker today as part of the webinar is Lix Harcum. So Lix is a Webex Calling product sales specialist from Cisco, someone we've worked with from a long time, even prior to the acquisition of BroadSoft into the Cisco portfolio. So she's our resident expert here today and someone we work closely with. And obviously myself, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm a collaboration specialist at Axonex and work very closely with a lot of you already. So at a high level today, we're going to give you a bit of introduction into some themes shaping the industry in terms of the strategy and some priorities shaping the cloud calling piece and considerations. We're going to have a look at the product and discuss some of the business benefits of why we think and believe that the Cisco offering is really compelling. We're going to have a look at some of the simplified management and centralized management, what we call the control hub for managing the application. And then we're going to finally sort of round up by discussing, you know, what it looks like and how you get there, how we work with you to get there, how you leverage some of the benefit of your existing investment, and how you can, you know, take a phased approach. It doesn't have to be a big bang approach. The beauty of this solution is that we can take a phased approach in terms of moving towards a cloud, or specifically a cloud calling strategy. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to Lix and we'll get started.
Thank you. Okay. Good. Organisations today face challenges in the path towards the future of calling. So they need to retain talent by offering an empowering workplace that allows every member to bring their best to work. Technology should simplify the way people work, making teams more productive by reducing the number of applications and limitations to device access. Security is an expectation, and the more distributed teams are, the higher the need for telephony services out of any initial estimate. So cost reduction of the voice calling service is an imperative. Organizations need a voice calling solution that is simple and easy to use, yet easy to maintain and scalable across distributed locations. One that embraces true mobility and allows for a seamless transition between work styles is a requirement for organizations of all sizes, and that solution is Cisco Webex Calling. And I'm going to go through one.
There we go.
Okay, so themes shaping the industry. It's a digital transformation, modernising IT through digital technology, mobile and cloud. Flexible application programming interfaces, so the ability to integrate in with things like APIs. Integrated cloud platforms, so integrating your meetings, messaging, calling, contact centre and your devices. Teams is the preferred UI, so this is our focal point for messaging, video, voice, content sharing for integrated enterprise workflows, and it's a global delivery. So you get all the functionality regardless of the location. So this is the results of a Cisco BroadSoft survey of over 1,000 enterprise IT decision makers from 7 countries over all the continents around the globe. And it focused on their biggest area of concerns around their current calling solutions, which found that the rising cost and complexity of delivering a secure and fully featured calling and collaboration solution capable of supporting all workers in all approved work locations was challenging. The continued use of a disconnected calling experience where business applications and mobile devices were not adequately integrated into their PBX or UC solution is seen as a high priority cost to the business. And the increased recognition of the high penalty that business is paying for workforce mobility. So the most important workers, executives, sales specialists, for example, lack the depth of connectivity to be optimally productive while mobile. And this leads to delayed responsiveness and is another area of high opportunity cost. These are the top drivers for enterprise businesses moving to a cloud calling solution, according to Gartner, the leading analyst, covering the calling and collaboration market globally. And this was as of February 2019.
Well, I think to add to that, Lex, I think that's typical of a lot of, you know, Axonex. We're lucky enough to have a lot of really good customers, got a wide collaboration base, and we do have some customers where, you know, their current version of Communications Manager is reaching end of life, you know, and they're looking, you know, one eye on the future of what that looks like in terms of moving that to the cloud. So now, you know, for the first time ever, Cisco and Axonex can really offer you that enterprise on-premise solution, which we know and love and has been around for a long time, Communications Manager. We can look at a hybrid approach where we can consume some cloud elements, such as the meeting component from the cloud, but keep your existing unified communication solutions on-premise. Or for the first time ever, we can move you entirely to the cloud across all the collaboration applications.
Which kind of brings us perfectly into Cisco's collaboration strategy. So the one thing we hear a lot at Cisco is cloud first, not cloud only. So although Webex Calling is kind of the big focus for Cisco at the moment, we do appreciate that not every customer is ready to kind of rip and replace and move their entire estate to the cloud. So we've built a platform that enables you to do kind of that smooth migration. So you can move those users that are ready while still making use of your traditional on-premise system, and then eventually make that slow transition to the cloud. So why would you want to choose Cisco as your kind of provider to take you on that cloud journey? So we now have 45% of the on-premise calling market share and 57% of the cloud calling market share, which I think just shows that within whether it's cloud or on-premise, we kind of know what we're doing. We're one of the leading providers, and we're a safe pair of hands to take you on that journey with us. And as well as that, the rest of the Cisco portfolio, so things like adding in your meetings and your video, it's all seamless within that portfolio.
I think to add to that, Alex, you're quite right. I mean, your maturity and experience, in cloud calling is second to none. It's just a lot of the work now it's in the Cisco workspace is really about the user experience, isn't it? And integrating the applications, so the calling, the instant messaging and presence, and the co-collaborating, and the video into one seamless experience.
Exactly. So this just calls out kind of Cisco's two focus calling solutions, and just highlights some of the differences between them. So you've got your traditional CUCM on-premise solution, and then your Cisco Webex Calling, which is the cloud version. There are many reasons why you would pick one over the other. It's not necessarily I want an on-prem or a cloud solution. It's to do with the features and the way that your business is set up. So whatever the look and feel of your business, we'll always suggest the platform that is right for you. Not necessarily, we won't always push you down the cloud road, which brings us back to the cloud first, not cloud only. Yeah,
I think that's really important. I think it's important to say that the on-premise strategy around Unified Communications Manager and all its associated collaboration applications is very much remaining, is very much a strong part of the portfolio. It's just now we have the flexibility and the ability to add the cloud piece to this as well to complement it.
Exactly. So with Webex Calling, you get the power of the whole Webex platform. So it fits seamlessly into the Webex Cloud with the rest of the portfolio. So you get calling and Teams. Teams is the face, if you like, of calling. So you use that for your IMing and your collaboration as you would normally. And then you can add meetings into that as well. So you've got one single interface for all of your collaboration needs. And then you can add in your video devices, and soon you'll be able to add in the contact center piece as well when that becomes available.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, the fact that, as I say, Cisco we can now offer you the calling, the meetings and the co-collaboration, but we can also offer you the contact center piece as well. So there's not many vendors that can offer you that true simplified or unified experience. And the contact center piece is actually something we're going to address as a further webinar in the future, so we can deep dive into that.
Okay, so these are some of the most important benefits your business would experience if you were to adopt Cisco's Webex Calling. Cisco's cloud services are delivered from a regionally geographically dispersed pair of fully redundant data centers. And as part of the Webex portfolio, Webex Calling offers a calling experience that's integrated with the Webex Teams collaboration platform and the optional Webex meetings for your conferencing as well. When you add in the integrated Cisco multi-platform handset phones, you have a truly intelligent calling and collaboration experience from any work location. Our experience shows that customers' IT staff typically spend about 53% less time managing their cloud service than they previously spent managing their equivalent PBX infrastructure. Okay, and these are just some of the hundreds of features that are included with Webex Calling.
Yeah, I think that's really important actually for anyone who who isn't aware of some of the key features and functionality of Webex Calling, and maybe starting to make a comparison to what you may have on premise in terms of features and functionality, this is a really high level sort of overview of its capabilities.
So our portfolio of collaboration devices includes everything from voice to collaboration room devices for the small business to the very large enterprise. Cisco offers you the most complete range of solutions in the industry, so you can build the voice and video collaboration network that meets your needs. The majority of the portfolio has been redesigned to make collaboration more affordable, more accessible, and easy to use. And many of them have received the Red Dot Award for Excellence in Design. So a few of the highlights. We've got our room-based devices have been completely refreshed with a new award-winning industrial design. They've got richer functionality and they're easier to install. Now with the addition of the Cisco Webex board, we're expanding the collaboration rooms with new ways to create and collaborate and engage teams.
I think just to add to that slide, so if from an operational perspective, there's also Cisco have now added into the portfolio a DEC solution. There's a Cisco IP DEC solution for anyone out there who may currently have an on-premise system with DEC and maybe thinking about that as a consideration. And also we now support the analog telephony adapters as well for any analog devices that might remain out there in the enterprise.
Exactly. Our IP phone portfolio now delivers superior voice communications, and the select few of the endpoints also support HD video as well, which is good. Okay, so the deployment of Cisco Webex. So Cisco Webex Calling, sorry. So we've mentioned a couple of times that you can do kind of the hybrid model on your journey to the cloud. So if you've got, let's say, for example, a third-party PBX or a traditional Cisco UCM solution, you can start deploying Webex Calling for those users that are ready to move to the cloud and integrate it using what we call Cisco Webex Calling Edge into your existing on-premise solution. So you can utilize the Webex Calling features alongside the solution you already have until such a time as you're ready to move all of those users into Webex Calling. So it moves with you.
I think that's a really good point. I think for anyone wishing to look at Webex Calling but might not necessarily want to go big bang, you know, it'd be really nice as a proof of concept if you've got a small branch office or a subset of users or a small team that you could convert to Webex Calling first, run your proof of concept, understand the value from it, whilst not upsetting the existing deployment.
Exactly. So this is just showing you again kind of that migration path. And for those of you who've got existing CUCM solutions, if you're using some of the newer UCM phones, you can reuse some of those in Webex Calling as well. So then it might be that you don't have to purchase brand new handsets for every user. There's the possibility that we can reuse some of your existing.
Yeah, so I think, you know, Axonex would work with you, understand, you know, the capability of those devices, and then we'll help you to understand what devices are supported and how we move them across, which we also talk about from a licensing perspective when we jump into the Flex plan.
Yeah, which comes in here. So you can migrate from UCM to MPP, and the license for doing so is included with your Webex Calling license.
So for anyone, just to reiterate that, so for anyone who moves to a Flex plan, you get a migration license included through that. So you go from typically your skinny or SIP 78 or 8800 handset, allows you to install the multi-platform firmware, which then makes it capable with the Webex Calling application.
Brings us into the Flex plan. So this provides cost protection of your on-premise user licenses, offering a one-time per user credit as you transition your workforce to the Cisco cloud. The Flex plan is designed to protect your investment in on-premises licensing and offer maximum flexibility as you transition your business to the cloud. So it will work with you as you make that migration. And these are some of the options you have within the Flex plan for calling. So you can do either a named user deployment. So you can select, as I said, that small team that are ready to move now, and then move the others as and when they're ready. Or you can do an enterprise agreement, which is kind of catering for those businesses that are ready to move everybody to the cloud. And that includes a level of growth inside the enterprise agreement as well. So you've got the option for that. And sorry.
No, do some.
As I say, and then you've got the option then of adding in your meetings as well if you want to. If you need that conferencing solution as well, you can wrap them all into the same agreement.
I think we've been lucky enough to work with some customers and really see the benefit of a flex plan. I mean, there's, the obvious thing is that we can move you to an operational expenditure model, so it makes the investment much smoother and predictable. As Lick said, there's, with the enterprise agreement on the calling side, there's 20% growth, future growth, to cater for any bursts or new offices. We've done away with the legacy perpetual model licenses of lots of different flavors of license. So some of you on the call today may be familiar with the fact that we had unified workspace licensing, then we had a user connect model comprising things like Enhanced Plus, Enhanced, Essential, Basic. And it's fair to say that's fairly complicated. As your partner, that's what we're here for and to help out with. However, with one of the key benefits of the Flex plan is they've done away with that, and you basically get the gold license for everyone. So you no longer have to consider how rolling out devices and features to users will impact licensing. It's no longer a consideration, and it just makes it a lot easier. Helps you to mix and match. So what Lix was talking about earlier in terms of if we want to move a branch office across to Webex Calling, then this permits us to do so.
Webex Calling is a global solution. So whether you've got your HQ here and you've got branch offices over the world, it can support that deployment for you. There's multiple ways of connecting it to the PSTN that will work with you depending on what your particular deployment looks like. So it's currently supported in 36 markets around the globe, and that list is ever expanding. And for every country that it's in, you have the localization, so you can be assured that whichever country your users are using Webex Calling in, it will do it in the messaging and things will be in their language so that they have that better user experience.
So for example, I think if you order Webex now as a UK customer, your data and sovereignty of data will be stored in a European data center.
Correct.
Yeah. It's just highlighting how it's delivered globally.
Yeah. So the client, so as we've said, Teams is the kind of the face of Webex Calling. So we as Cisco are using Teams as the front end of our collaboration. So from within here, you can do your calling with Webex Calling. If you add meetings, this can become the front end of your meetings as well. So you've got kind of that one pane of glass for your users to make their experience with collaboration more seamless and easy to use.
There's just a couple of examples here. We've looked at the calling, meeting, scheduling through your mail client. And then integration. I think integration is a really key one, just very quickly. But I think the future of Teams as a solution is going to be very application driven. And in the future, this is going to be how it integrates with your key business applications, your business services. This one here is just showing how it integrates with a service called Jira.
So just to summarize some of what we've already discussed, so Cisco are the market share leader in calling, meetings, video and contact center as well. So you can kind of be assured that we are a safe pair of hands to take you on that journey. With Teams as the main client, we're strong in that market. So the deployment of Teams is ever accelerating. So you can be assured that using that as your front end will make your users' lives more simple. It's enterprise grade, and it's got the industry's most powerful VAR and service provider channels fully engaged within the platform, like Axonex. So how is it administered? So any of you that are familiar with Webex in general will know Control Hub. If you're not, Control Hub is the online portal through which customers and partners can administer their entire Webex portfolio. So to date, you'd have had your meetings, your Teams, your video endpoints would have been administered through Control Hub, and now calling fits into that as well. So you've got one place that you go to look after that entire estate of Webex deployments. So the web-based administration offers flexibility to manage your system from anywhere. So you don't need to be in the office on that one computer that you can you could administer your telephone system from. You could be anywhere in the world. There's permissions-based administration authorization as well, with detailed session monitoring and audit logs, which provide flexibility for any mix of secure, centralized, and local administration.
I think just very quickly, this particular slide is focused on users. What we can do is we can securely integrate this into your Active Directory system, for example, and so by filling in the right fields in the Active Directory profile, we can make users appear or disappear accordingly, so it's more seamless in terms of its administration and in line with your internal user administration.
So this just goes over kind of the same point, but from the picture on the right, you can kind of see where you've got your messaging, which would be Teams, and then your meetings and calling, your room devices, customer journey platforms, the contact center. So you can see that everything within your Webex portfolio is available from within the Control Hub. Service assurance. So one of the things that we found as a cloud calling provider is that customers are really keen to make sure that the service is working as expected. And now within the Control Hub, you have got this section called Service Assurance, which will continually monitor the network and your call control quality, so that you can be confident in the fact that your platform is working as it should. If you were ever to come across an issue, it's an easy way for our teams to kind of nail down what the issue may be.
I think we've reached the end. I think that's time for any questions from the people attending today.
Yeah, sure.
I think most people are going to be muted by default, so if anyone's got any questions, you're welcome to pitch them to Lix and myself. You'll just have to bring yourself off mute first. I think Rich will have to.
Yeah, or you can type them in the chat box. We do have one question that's come through, which is where does Jabber fit in?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a really good question actually. So my experience to date is that a lot of people, the first thing they do when they see, if we're looking at this from a Teams perspective, is a client perspective. Sorry, they will naturally compare Webex Teams to Jabber. So based on the theory and the strategy of Cisco is cloud first, but not cloud only, Jabber is very much part of the roadmap from an on-premise perspective. So if anyone's obviously familiar with Jabber, there's a huge install base out there of Jabber clients. It's not going anywhere. It's very much internal based and focused, whereas Webex Teams obviously now securely extends that functionality to allow you to co-collaborate with external organizations, and we do that in a manner that's end-to-end encrypted and is also fantastic and actually a big advantage over our competitors in terms of how we handle things like, well, firstly joining other spaces comprising other people, but also things like DLP and anti-malware as well, which we can now factor into to Webex Teams. What we're seeing from a development side of things is actually in the latest releases of Jabber, it actually looks like Webex Teams, so the parity between the two is going to become identical, not only in look and feel but also in features. So I think it's fair to say Teams as sort of probably sat behind Jabber a little bit, if I may say that, in terms of its presence and location information, which I know a lot of customers like from Jabber. However, what I've seen coming down the line, which isn't GA today, is that is all coming. So there's going to be complete feature parity between the two. So
the reason I brought up this slide is because this is how Cisco have chosen to depict their collaboration portfolio and strategy moving forwards. And I think it's good to point out that Jabber is definitely a part of this. So it's not being replaced by Webex Calling. There's definitely a reason for both platforms. And as Les was saying there, Cisco are working to make the user experience of either calling platform the same, so that whether you're using Jabber or Calling or Teams, you have that same user experience no matter what the platform sitting behind it is.
Okay, thank you, Lix. And we've got another question. So the question is, just for everyone attending, is it fair to say that Teams would replace Jabber in a cloud-only situation? Well, actually, what we can do, there's kind of as part of the strategy of moving to the cloud, and we haven't touched on this only because it's focused on Jabber, is there's a hybrid approach for Jabber. So what we can do is take the Jabber client and the UI, and we can register it into the Webex Control Hub. So then it becomes a hybrid calling client. So then it is cloud only. So we're not saying you have to replace your client with Teams. There is an option, there is a transition. So there is a possibility to still work with it in a cloud scenario. Are there any other questions in there, Rich?
Yeah, I've got one more here.
That's a good question. So someone has asked that we've mentioned WebEx Teams integration with key business apps this morning, and they've said, can you please explain more around the Office and Office 365 integration? So yeah, I mean, to be fair, you know, we have pitched this morning specifically at WebEx Calling, but more than happy to talk about this, because you know the Teams is the user experience, so it's a very important part of it. We integrate seamlessly with Microsoft, so Cisco themselves actually have an Office 365 subscription for enterprise content management, and that's the way Axonex work. So if I'm co-collaborating on documents, whether it be with Richard internally or whether it be with Lix, who's external to Axonex, I have the ability to share documents seamlessly from OneDrive and also SharePoint as well.
Absolutely. So Cisco are very aware that Microsoft are the leaders in the productivity tools, so that Office 365 is the market leader in productivity. To make sure that when adopting Cisco collaboration tools, it's not limiting you being able to use tools like Office 365. So from within Teams, you can co-edit documents within the Office 365 suite. And if you're in Office 365, you can message in Teams from within inside Word, for example. So both platforms work seamlessly together.
It's kind of a best of breeds, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So another quick question. We have a number of analog devices, ConfTown, for example, with voice gateways in smaller meeting rooms. Can you integrate these to the cloud, or is there an alternative for these devices? So that's another good question. So thanks, Louise. Please keep them coming. So as we mentioned, there's an ATA device, an analog telephony adapter, and that will allow us to connect locally. That will allow us, to register locally connected analog devices. So that doesn't go away. So I know a lot of customers have already got analog devices, so it'll just be a case of updating the firmware on the ATA, and you can continue to use those. For meeting rooms, Cisco do have a solution. We have the 7832, which is an integrated solution, so it's an all-in-one conference phone that is specifically designed for cloud registration.
Okay. That's it for questions. I think unless anyone has any more, please feel free to ask them.
I think just quickly while we're in this sort of Q&A wrap-up session, I think it's important to talk about the PSTN side of things, the topology. So to date, there's a lot of people who've spoken to myself and Lix will already know that it's been a local gateway model. So what does that mean for you? Well, that means that you can be flexible in terms of keeping your existing PSTN connection, whether that be ISDN or more likely SIP, in a kind of bring your own SIP or bring your own PSTN environment. And then we just push calls, so calls come into the local gateway, and then we push them up into the cloud. The benefits of that are you may already be in contract, with your existing PSTN provider. There may be some T's and C's and clauses about moving away. But I'm pleased to say, as of recently this year, we can now offer what we call the preferred media option as well. So what does preferred media mean? Well, it means that you can have a true cloud solution, so you can look to take away those local gateways if you wish and port your DDIs into the WebEx cloud and give you a true cloud solution. There's currently one main PSTN partner offering that service at the moment, but from what I understand, Lix, there's going to be more. Typically what we're used to from a UK base coming into that fold of offerings to give you some choice and flexibility of who you'd like to use for PSTN.
And I think that's the key, is whether, no matter what PSTN provider you want to use or how they're going to connect into WebEx calling, we're keen to ensure that customers get a choice and get to choose their preferred method for PSTN connection.
Anything else, Rich, in there?
No, that's it for questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, so I think we'd just like to wrap up and say, firstly, I hope that's been useful and informative, and really it's been fairly high level, but hopefully giving you a sort of introduction into the life of Webex calling and what it looks like and how you can start to think about cloud calling as a strategy, if you so wish. What I would say is if you've got any appetite to look into this in any more detail, is obviously engage with your Axonex account manager or myself, or we can start to discuss and have a look at a strategy and roadmap of what that would look like. We work very closely with LIX as a representative, sorry if I'm getting the words out, from Cisco, so we can look at things like proof of concepts, proof of value. We've done that already with some of you on the call today, and that works really well. So that's quite a nice way of testing these applications and technologies in your own environment.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
Richard, I think the webinar's been recorded as well,
Yep.
so we'll be posting that out afterwards. And thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.